Hello everyone and welcome to the new video on a brand new series which is based on Linux kernel. In this series we are going to talk about in depth on the topic of Linux kernel. We will go through many different topics, we'll go through many different hands-on practical labs. This series in general would be a bit more longer compared to the other series that I've already created, as we will not just go through the scratches of Linux, but we'll go completely in depth and understand a lot of things related to this topic. This whole series in general is designed for beginners as well. For the ones who don't know anything about Linux, you can also watch this video from the start, or watch the whole series from the start and understand exactly how Linux works and what are the things that you need to know. So we'll go all the way from basics to the expertise of Linux in general. Just before we start, I quickly want to let you know that there are many other videos that I have prepared in my channel, which are not about Linux, but also about Windows or about Azure, about Microsoft, about Amazon Web Services. There are a lot of things that you can look through if you're interested in the topic of cybersecurity. And if you want to learn more about these things, you are really welcome to go and check out the other videos. Also, if the videos that you watch are helpful for you in any particular way, make sure that you subscribe to the channel for the upcoming videos. And also, if you would like the video and maybe also send a comment, it really helps me to grow. It really helps the videos to be featured more, helps in the YouTube algorithm for my channel as well, so it would be really nice. So yeah, before getting into today's video, I just quickly want to talk about what exactly this series is all about. So if you want to be, for an example, a pen tester, if you want to be a hacker in a general company ways, or if you want to be more involved in the networking of a particular system, you need to know Linux. It's really a required fundamental and a foundational skill, and most likely it's a prerequisite for doing anything which is related to pen testing. Like, you really have to know it. And so that's why in this series I'm going to talk a lot about Linux. So once again, I want to welcome you to my Linux series. Now, while this series is basically named as Linux for pen testing, most of what I will be covering is Linux for everyone. So, and I mean really everyone. So whoever wants to learn about it, you can learn about it. And this series will teach you all the way from Linux foundations to really the in-depth versions of it, so that you can learn and try yourself and do a lot of pen testing. So just in general, if you are unaware of how to use Linux, and if you, for an example, use a Mac OS, or if you use Windows, you can watch a video that I have already uploaded where you can have a virtual machine on Linux through Azure, for an example. And if in case that's a bit complicated for you, I can also right now show you a very easy way of how you can do it. For example, if in case you're not aware, there's a really good platform called as Hack the Box. They are really wonderful bunch of company which has a lot of things related to cybersecurity. And so all you have to do is like go on the Hack the Box website. Here I can show you, this is like their website. So you have to go to the Hack the Box Academy website link, which I will also add in the description for an example. And all you have to do is click here and go on start for free. and you have to sign up for the particular web page here on Hack the Box. And yeah, you have to just create a account. You just have to sign up there. And yeah, just for you to know, this lab here, which we will go through, can be covered entirely through this one particular thing. So yeah, once you have signed up, the next thing that you have to do, or what you will see after you sign up, is a dashboard from you. This is particularly a thing that you will see, that's your dashboard. And under your username, you'll see there are different cubes. So this, I think at the start it would be 30 or some kind of thing that's just called cubes. And cubes are what you need to unlock whatever course you want to take through Hack the Box Academy. So you can definitely also purchase more, but as you would see that you already have 30, which is good enough. So the next thing that you have to do is, like, you can just go and click on modules, and you can also go click on like all modules. And once you click on it, once it loads up, there are a lot of ones, and you have to just scroll down till you see Linux fundamentals, so which is right here. And normally it costs 10 cubes, and as you know, we have got 30, so that is good enough. And here there will be an option where it says start. Right now there would be an option which says like something like here, unlock. And once you click on unlock, you will directly have this option where it says start. So yeah, before we get into it, like really quick, notice this right here. So what you see here, what this plus 10 means is that if you finish this Linux fundamentals course, which we probably will, Hack the Box Academy will give us the 10 Qs. So basically it's free as long as you complete it, and hopefully you will do it. So yeah, so let's now click. After you have clicked on unlock, you have to go and just click on start. And on this page, you have to go a bit down, like just scroll a bit all the way till you see this option. And here what you will see is there's like your particular workstation. This is like your Linux box. So normally for me, when you see, like, I already have the VirtualBox turned up. Here for you, for an example, I can show you again, is that it says start instance and it says infinity spawns lab. So basically you always will have spawns for this workstation open. So just click on start instance, and normally it takes up a few seconds, sometimes a minute, sometimes 2 minutes, depends on how many people are currently using it. So yeah, that's in general depends on how much time it takes. Yeah, and once it's done, the next thing you have to do is, like, all you have to do is click on interact, and it's going to launch your Linux in your browser that you can see here. So yeah, that's basically this box here is your own pawn box. Like, it's a really interesting name. And now that we are here inside our Linux box, we are going to accomplish two things first. So what basically this is, that's our first question that we have to answer. And yeah, I understand that this may be your first time ever using Linux. You might be wondering, what do? I don't even know what this is. So basically, yeah, we will cover that. And the point two is we're going to start using it right now. So yeah, like, I'm going to get you started with your first Linux terminal commands, and I will cover what that means. So first, what basically this is. So this is a computer you're going to be using right now here in the browser, which is like it's crazy, right? Yeah, this is Linux, but to be specific and technical, this is actually a distribution of Linux called Parrot OS. This, what you see, it's Parrot OS, which is an operating system built for pen testing or for hacking. Now, the OS and Parrot OS stands for basically operating systems like Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Android, many more. Like it's a software that we interact with to make our computer do things. So if someone were to ask you, hey, what operating system are you running right now? It would be Parrot OS, and Parrot OS is using Linux. So more specifically, Linux kernel. And I want to point out that because Linux is technically not an operating system, Linux is a kernel and we build operating systems on top of it. So Parrot OS is not the only distribution of Linux. Like for an example, there's Kali Linux, there's Ubuntu, there's CentOS, Debian. Like, yeah, there's like so many versions of like Linux kernel, which are actually part of OS, but it's basically not an OS. Now, what does the Linux kernel do? Like it has a very important job. It interfaces with our hardware, CPU, RAM, hard drive, like all the additional things. When, for an example, we, as a pen tester, we want to run our favorite tool that's called Nmap or something, we tell Parrot OS, like, yeah, let's run Nmap. Parrot OS will say, hey, Linux kernel, can we get some hardware resources here? Can you like do it? And Linux kernel gets the hardware resources set up. So basically, it's like a middleman between the application, the OS, and the hardware. But to simplify things, we just call it Linux. And we say what flavor of Linux and or like what distribution, and well, that's Parrot OS. Now the bigger question might be, why Linux? I mean, we got Windows, we got Mac OS. Yeah, what's wrong with those operating system? Well, it's like nothing and everything. So you see what's great about Linux is I will explain basically why it is good or why it is great. And the one thing is that it's open source, which means a lot. But it basically means that it's open and free to use and to redistribute. So people can make like amazing distributions like Parrot OS. The other benefit of Linux is that it's traditionally faster and more secure, which is why like more or like most websites and servers in the world use Linux as their operating system. And like it's also why pen testers use Linux. Most of these tools out there are Linux based. So yeah, that's what Linux is. And this is basically why we use it. But now the question is, how do we use it? That's basically more interesting question, because you might be looking at the screen right here, your computer desktop, and you may be thinking, wow, it didn't know like how Linux basically has a GUI or like graphical user interface icons and docs and menus and stuff like that. And that's pretty interesting. And yeah, you can use Linux like that, but it wasn't meant to be used like this. So yeah, what we'll do is like we will basically look at the power of Linux. And the power of Linux is we don't use the GUI. So what we're going to do is like we're going to use the Linux terminal or the command line, how you know it from, or the command prompt that we know from our Windows, like the general Windows OS. And yeah, it's here, like when you can see like there's a green box up here, and you can click on this icon, and this is basically the Linux terminal, what you can see it here. And yeah, now for an example, if you're coming from the graphical user interface world only, so basically Windows, or also Windows itself has the non-GUI version, but yeah, most likely if you're coming from the GUI world, where all of you use as like the graphical user interface, this might seem a little intimidating for an example. And I totally get it, but don't worry, we're going to walk through this. We're going to teach you a few commands here. So I'm going to slowly move you away from the graphical user interface. And what we'll do also is, like, for an example, I will here also show you the GUI on the side, and yeah, we will try a few different things. And yeah, so what you can do is, like, right now, follow along with me, and after you opened up your Linux terminal and also open up your, like, home for the home directory for your particular workstation on the side by side. After you double clicked here, so I can show you again, this would be if you're using Hack the Box. For an example, this is like, if you double click, you will come to the home directory for your user, for an example. And yeah, so what we'll do is, like, we are going to learn a few commands by doing something here in the graphical user interface, and then we're going to do the same thing here in the Linux terminal. And so now here's the first thing. What I love about the GUI is that you always kind of know where you are. And yeah, that's pretty much what, because you can see it right now, you can see it, what's happening. So here, like, I'm in my user directory, my home directory, because I can see it right there. And that's where all my stuff over here is. Like, here, I don't see anything. So how do I know where I am? So the first thing we're going to do is, like, we're going to solve that. Our first command type is init is, like, you can do and type with me, is the 3 letters, and that is pwd. So pwd basically stands for print working directory, and it basically does is, like, what we can see once you click here, and it tells us where we are at. So, hey, where am I? Oh, I'm right here. Basically here, home/htb AC937377, basically your user workstation. And yeah, so what you can do is, like, again, you can also try out, and yeah, what you will see is here again, I can mention again that it shows you the full path of where you are right now, like the home directory, and then even further in drilling down our user directory. So what you can see here, like, we are actually in the same spot in the GUI and also in the Linux terminal. So yeah, cool. We know where we are, but we still don't know, or, like, we still don't see the same thing in our graphical user interface, for an example. Like right now, where I am, like, I'm actually here, like, in the GUI, I can see my desktop, and I can see, like, here the desktop, here the templates, and, like, these folders. And this I don't see here in the Linux terminal. So what is going to be the next command, or, like, how do I see it in the next command? Or you can type with me. It's going to be ls. So, like, the ls command, and that's basically stands for list, and it's pretty simple what it does. It's like, it will simply list the contents of your current working directory. It's going to list what we basically see right here. So what we see here is going to do the same thing. Everything we see here, desktop, templates, such things, it's also going to list here. So once you do ls and then type enter, you see desktop templates as well. So yeah, you can do anything in the terminal and it's faster, and I will convince you about it. So yeah, don't worry, let's keep going. Let's say we are going to take a peek inside our desktop folder right here in the GUI. So here we do is, like, double click on that folder, and we will jump right in and see the stuff. So how do we do that in the terminal? That is going to be our next command, and the next command is going to be a simple command called cd, and basically cd stands for change directory, and it's going to do exactly what we just did here in the GUI. And so what we do is like just type cd, and after cd hit a space and then tell in what directory you want to go. So as we did here in the GUI, we will jump into desktop. One thing that I want to let you know before like we press enter is that Linux is a case sensitive operating system, and just in case if you have already used the command prompt in Windows for an example, you will notice that if you type desktop with D capital or D small, you'll always be led to the main desktop directory. But for here, like just before we press enter, you can try that if you type desktop with a D, like small d at the start, it will say that this file or directory does not exist. And for now, when you see like when you type the desktop D with capital, it will show that it's basically in. So again, once you press cd/desktop, we right now don't know if it worked or not. Still, above here, we can see that it didn't work, but here it didn't give any particular information. So let's see if it worked or not. We will print out our working directory, which was again pwd, as we know from the here, like what we did. And then when you print enter, and we will see here that it actually works, that we did it, and there's a current working directory, and we did indeed drill down right into the desktop folder. So here you can see. And then to see what's in our desktop, for an example, as we see here in the GUI, we will just simply type again the ls command to list the contents. So yeah, there all it is right here. And now we're going to learn one more command, so hang with me. But so far we have done a lot. The pwd command to see where we are, the ls command to see what's around us and what's in our directory, and the cd command to change where we are. But now how do we go back? So because like in the GUI here, it's pretty intuitive. We just go and click on the back button up here, and we just go back, and suddenly we're back to our directory. So we are starting in our home directory. How do we do basically the same thing over here in the terminal? And it's really like super easy. So again, we are going to type here cd, and we are going to change our directory because we actually are changing our directory in this point. And then after the space, we are going to put in 2 dots, so dot dot. So cd space dot dot, and then hit enter, and let's see what happens. Like we right now don't know, so let's type pwd and see if it changed our directory. And so for you to know, here we can see it totally did. We entered the cd command with dot dot, and that dropped us back to the home with the user of our user htb ac937377. Now just for fun, I wonder what will happen if we keep going backwards. So for now, like we type cd dot dot again, and I will type pwd. So where am I at right now? It's like /home. Now let's do cd one more, cd dot dot, and where I am, we will basically now type pwd, and it just says, like simply it says /, and what this is actually the root of the file system. So like it's the end. We reached the end, and we'll talk more about it later, but just for like fun, again, you can just enter ls again here, and we will see like the list of the contents of the root directory, and there are like a lot of interesting files here. And this will also, we will talk about this in later videos. And just for you to know, right now what we did is like just the basics. So like just scratching the surface of the whole kernel. What I have for you is like a really small quiz to see like what you remember right now. So once you're at this point and you're following along with me, again, if I print my working directory like pwd, as I said, I'm at the root here. I'm at the root, that is like the /. Now, what commands or commands would you enter to get back to where we were at the start? So at the very start when we made it, what do we do? Just for you to know, there are like two options. You can do it with just one single command, or you can do with two commands. What you can do is like you can also write down in the commands of the video if you did this option, or if you did this quiz, of what you got, or like what things did you type. And yeah, as I again mentioned, that this basically what we did in this whole video, in this whole period today, is we just scratch the surface, and we will definitely go deeper into Linux. Yeah, we are really going to be prepped up and be ready to become ready and prepared for becoming a pen tester. But yeah, don't let that diminish the fact that you did a lot in this video. We covered what Linux is. It's both a kernel and an operating system, similar to Windows and Mac, but it's faster, more powerful, and more secure, and way more popular. So yeah, it wins that contest hands down, at least for me, especially with pen testers, also with people who are into cybersecurity, and like it's really fun. Like we also covered some basic Linux terminal commands. We are now starting to move away from the GUI, and like we went into the Linux terminal properly by typing the pwd command and the ls command, the cd command, the cd dot command, and there are definitely more commands to come. And yeah, so just for you to know, this is like the end of this video. This is the end of our first video on this whole series that we are going to talk about Linux. I will be going deeper and deeper with this topic in further videos, and yeah, it will be really nice that you can practice them, and that you can somehow get familiar with these ones that we did today, the commands that we did, and also get familiar with the ones that we will also do in further videos. And of course, don't forget to hack the YouTube algorithm today. Just like a fun pun that hit the like button, subscribe, notification bell icon, comment, do all these things. And like, yeah, let's be ethical hacker for YouTube. And yeah, as I mentioned again, that's all I got for this video. Again, if you want to watch my videos on different topics, feel free to explore the channel. Feel free to comment on the videos that you liked. If you want to see something different, if you want to see some different topics that I should also cover. And yeah, that's all I've got for you today, and see you until next time. Bye bye.